Welcome back to the Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Ponte, where we will hear stories of incredible people thriving against all odds. And my hope is that we can all see how life is always happening for us, even when we are the less than 1% chance. Hey, friend. Welcome back to Against All Odds, the Less Than 1% Chance podcast with your host, Maria Aponte. I just wanted to say thank you. I cannot even believe that it's reached the amount of people that it has, and just the fact that I feel like it has touched so many of you, and this has resonated with so many. And the feedback that I've gotten, I just want to say thank you, and I'm so appreciative. This has been a long time coming, so the fact that it's happening and it's here and we're in episode 6, oh my gosh, has been pretty epic. Today is a solo episode. I wanted to talk a little bit about love and how to find it and what process I did to find it in so many different aspects. So I hope that this helps and resonates and maybe even helps you rekindle and refine that spark that is needed in your own love life. And that could be love with yourself, love with a partner, love in your family. Like, it is just overall finding love. And so I wanted to kind of start off with a little bit with my story. I feel like I have been extremely blessed, and not that I haven't had difficult situations, but I have been extremely blessed to learn so much from the situations that I have been through. And that has been probably one of the coolest experiences that I've seen happen within my life, that I can say, oh my gosh, I completely manifested this. How amazing. And it's so possible to do. I think that's one of the most important things that we should have in our life is love. That is such an important part of living. And I know that for so long, I just felt like I was in search of this love, and I found it in so many different ways. And so kind of want to start off with, I got married super young. I was 19 years old. I had been with now my ex-husband since I was 17, and I already was advanced in the mindset of like, I'm not going to take any bullshit. BS, no, that's not going to happen. So when I met my ex-husband, it was at this like Spanish festival. There was like singers and music and food and all the things, right? My dad, for many, many years, owned a jewelry shop in the county where we lived in, and everybody knew my dad. Everyone. He was such an amazing, friendly, very fair person in his work. So he repaired jewelry, he repaired watches. His main focus was always watches because that's what he grew up learning. He learned that at 13 years old, and he worked with my uncle at his jewelry shop in Puerto Rico since he was 13, and that became his trade. And so I worked at my dad's jewelry shop since I was 8 years old. Since I was a little girl, I was barely over the display case. I remember just falling in love with helping people since then. I think that that kind of just started my work ethic. So anyways, my ex-husband had been to my dad's jewelry shop before, and I think I remember seeing him a few times, and he was older and he was cute and whatever. I was at my dad's shop, so it was not something that I ever even considered looking at because I'm like, my dad's gonna kill me. So anyways, he comes up to me, and I was with my best friend, and he was just like, "You're Aponte's daughter, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And we became friends for a little bit, and I learned a lot about him. I learned that he did not grow up the same way that I did. I learned that aside from all of the differences that we had growing up and our life experiences, he was a kind person. He was fun, loving, and he was just an overall good guy. And he had this like very bad boy demeanor and was such a softie on the inside. And I think that that's what I fell in love with. I fell in love with the fact that he had a story and that his story, although it made him who he was, didn't define him. And not to get way too into his story, however, he grew up really quickly. He grew up in the projects in Puerto Rico, and it was a different lifestyle completely than what I was used to. And at, I think, 15 years old, he had a night, let's say, with this girl that was younger than him, and basically her mom just dropped her off at his house, and he was given like a insta family. She wasn't pregnant or anything like that. She was like, you keep her. And so he had to drop out. He had to make a life and make a living for this quote unquote wife. They didn't ever get married, but quote unquote wife that he was like given the responsibility for. And let's just say they grew up together. Like, just like you would fight with your brother and sister, they would fight. And that was something in my mind. I was always very, very clear. Like, I will never, ever, ever let anyone touch a hair on my head. Like, that is just not something I will allow. I was very present in that. And hearing his story and the stories that his family would tell and things, I was just like, this is definitely not, and I was very clear, this is definitely not the relationship that I'm looking for. So if this is what you are about, dude, peace out. Great knowing you, but that is just not what I'm about at all. And so he was very clear from the beginning. I had just turned 17 when we started dating. It wasn't like we started dating. He asked me to be his girlfriend. He kind of just told me that I was his girlfriend. He was a few years older. Looking back now, I would probably kill my daughter for doing what I did. But, you live, you learn. But it was just a crazy experience. The fact that we didn't fight, he never laid a hand on me. We never had an all out like yelling match or anything like that. We were not that kind of couple. And I don't think that that's the relationship that he was looking for either. So, people change. And definitely, I feel like that was a pivotal point for him in his life, as well as for me, and knowing that whatever I want, I need to stand my ground. And that was a huge thing for me. We were married from 19 until I was 28, so about 8 years, 8.5, and we were together for almost 11, just shy of 11 years. And I learned so much from that relationship. Again, we never had like fights, and it wasn't anything like that. I feel like that relationship was all about growing, knowing what we loved and didn't love about the relationship, and understanding that instead of growing together in that relationship, we kind of grew apart. Like, I had growth in all aspects. So I was 19 when we got married, so I had all kinds of growth happen. He was very hard worker, and I loved that he was a good provider and all of the things. And I feel like I grew in my ambition for my career. I knew that I wanted more, and I felt like I really needed, like, I know that we had a good relationship, but I wanted more. I wanted that connection. I wanted that friendship that we started off with and we had over the years, and then it dwindled. And I am, I think I just had gotten to a point where I think there was a lot of things going on. However, looking back now, I think I had gotten to a point where I had asked, hey, can we just talk? Like, he had two jobs at the time. I would wait up for him to get home from work. And sometimes it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And obviously, I understand now that he was super tired. But I also did not see my husband all day long. I worked and I had three little kids, and he worked two jobs. So he left early in the morning, got home, left again, got home super late. So it just got to a point where I was just like, I need a partner in this. Like, I feel like I'm alone in this. One of the things that I think tweaked that, like, enough is enough, is that on the weekends when he didn't work and when we were able to have time together, he would just peace out and go fishing all day. And I'm be like, dude, I'm still here with the kids. Like, what's going on? And so it just got to a point where asking for something to change just didn't happen. And it kept reverting back to where I was just not getting that support and didn't have that friendship. And it's okay, because things need to happen the way they happen for a full on purpose. And so I obviously there was hurt feelings and all the things. I asked for the divorce. I was going through my own like hormonal issues. That's also the time where I almost lost my life in surgery, and it was just kind of craziness. So anyways, fast forward a little bit. I dated somebody, and we dated for maybe like 6 months or so. And it was like nonstop. Everything I wanted. I wanted a conversation. We would talk all the time for hours and hours and hours on end. And that felt good. That was awesome. I'm like, yes, I'm all about it. There was love and passion, all the things, and great. And it ended. He was not ready for a commitment. And I think I was just still like in this like phase of like, yep, I'm getting divorced and whatever. So come back into my life, who I had dated in high school. He did not come to our class reunion. I was already at my 10-year reunion. He wasn't there, but that was somebody that like was always in the back of my mind. He was my first true love, my first boyfriend in high school, my first in all aspects. And he had just a special place in my heart. His family had a special place in my heart. And so he comes into my life, and it was this whirlwind romance. Like the most intense love that I could have ever thought of feeling in my heart. And it was amazing. And it was incredible while it lasted. And it was probably the most heartbreaking thing I have ever been through. So I'll kind of go into it. He was my high school sweetheart. He was just who I like always just, my thoughts always went back to him, always. And we had been, even after we had broken up in high school, we were really good friends, and I have the habit of just being friends with the people that I fall in love with. And that's completely okay. But I had such a great relationship with him. And then we just kind of lost touch. Like we both went our separate ways after high school. And, it was what it was. I got married, had kids. He got married, had a kid. We both got divorced, and we were kind of going through the same situation kind of at the same time. And so it was a whirlwind romance. It was like soulmate and soul crushing all in one relationship. So we kind of moved in together, I would say fairly quick, maybe like 6 months after we started dating. And we kept it quiet for a little bit, and like I made sure that like that was someone who I want my kids around. I vetted that part of it. So let's fast forward a little bit. My kids absolutely adored him. We were very, very patient with him coming into their lives, and he earned the stepdad role. Earned it. He was so good with them. He would read them bedtime stories. He was such a great bonus dad to them. And so little by little, the youngest one was the first to call him Daddy Esteban. And so he was that, like, he lost it when that happened. And then my son, like, definitely just connected with him. And then my oldest daughter, which was my toughest one, was probably the last one to call him that. And then but I think the one that he earned her love and respect so much. And that one was a tough one for him. And so I bring all this up to say, like, I learned so much from this relationship. I also tolerated a lot. There was rumors. He was in the restaurant business, and there was rumors and all these things about him with other people, and I'm like, no, it cannot be. And like it would like tear my heart to pieces, and I'd be like, I just can't. Like, this is so good. Why would that be happening? And so we come, like, let's say a year and a half later, I had been given the opportunity to move for my job down to Miami. I was in Orlando area, and so I was given the opportunity to move down to Miami. And so we kind of had that conversation. He applied for some jobs down in South Florida and was given an opportunity that was a really great opportunity. I had a conversation with my ex at the time, and he gave me the okay to move. So I broke my lease. I started looking for a place. All the things were happening. We were in the middle of the summer, and right before we were moving, like a week before we were moving, I found a place. Miami is mega more expensive than Orlando. I negotiated my salary increase and all of the things, and my ex gave me a notice that I was not able to move, that we would have to go to court. And I was like, what? Because I had broken my lease already. I was forced to move in with my parents for a few months while we resolved this situation. My boyfriend moved down and started working in his job, and I traveled to South Florida once a month for a week every single month, and I did that for about 11 years. So I still saw him often, and he would come up, and it was great, and we were still together but still living apart. And that lasted for 9 months. When I finally got the answer from the judge as to if I could move or not, and the answer was I couldn't, I was devastated. This was 9 months of a long distance relationship, 9 months of like, is this happening? Is this not happening? Like, what is happening? And I had to break my lease in South Florida and find a place in like Orlando again. And I did. I found an amazing place. It was awesome. I loved that house. Like, I was at the point of like purchasing that house. And throughout this, my relationship was kind of like up and down, right? It's long distance. Long distance is not easy. And even if you feel the love and the connection and all the things, long distance is not easy. There was just a lot of like unknowns. And so he would still, every time I would travel down to Miami, he would stay with me in the hotels that I would stay in, and he would enjoy the hotel and I would be working, and then we would meet up at night and like dinner and all the things. And that lasted for a while, like probably a good year or so, maybe even two. And so it was, again, just a whirlwind, but it was so exciting to see him every month, and just this, I don't know, it was just, I was like blinded by love. And in 2015, I was dealing with, we had kind of we broke up for like a month, maybe 2 months. And in that 2 months, I was really struggling. I had just found out that I had cancer, and I was just going through a lot, and a lot of like not loving myself, and a lot of not taking care of myself, and being there for everyone and not being there for me. And I didn't realize how much I was going to miss him, but we saw each other at one of the times that I went down to South Florida, and it was like right after I had my surgery for the cervical cancer, and he wined and dined me and just told me how much he missed me and all the things. And he was then living in Fort Lauderdale, so a little bit north of Miami. And so still every time I would go down, he would meet me and even stay just a few days with me. And I was like, okay, so everything is kind of back to normal. And there was times when I would message him and nothing would come back, and I'd be like, what is happening? And I'm still dealing with like depression. I'm still dealing with this cancer scare. I'm still dealing with like no self-love, right? All of these things are happening around me, and I couldn't, and then this relationship was just so up and down, and it was exhausting. I started my health journey because I got to a point where I was like, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. And I started my health journey in August of 2015, and I, little by little, starting putting my oxygen mask on first, and little by little started loving myself a little bit more, and little by little started healing parts of me that I didn't know even needed to be healed. And I started to have a relationship with me, with Maria, and I was like, wow, okay. So my mind started opening to, I'm not the same person that I was so many years ago. I've evolved from all of the situations. And then October 15th came around of that year, and I was told that the cancer had come back, and I felt like I was in ground zero again. And this community that I have been a part of with my body journey literally did not let me give up on myself. And they were there to believe in me before I truly believed in myself that I could continue going. And they made me show up every single day. It was just like they weren't going to give up on me. And so in that time period, again, it was building back some of the belief that I had lost in myself. And my internal compass, like my instinct, had kind of dwindled, and I had like shut it off. And so I had surgery. I had a full hysterectomy in December of 2015. And he came up for a week and was with me and helped me and all the things. And the next month, his ex-wife allowed me to take his son so that he could come up for a weekend, and it was amazing. And we went to the movies, and in the movie with all the kids like sitting next to me, it was all the kids, my three kids, his son, him, and me in the corner. And this was when like Facebook Messenger started like allowing people to call you. So I get a message and it was from someone I didn't know. And she's like, "What are you doing with my boyfriend?" And I was like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? He's been my boyfriend for years. We've been together for years. What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, he lives with me in Fort Lauderdale." And I was like, so we're watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, I remember, and I show him the phone and he looks at it and goes pale. And I stand up, walk out of the movie theater, and she calls me. And I was like, "Who the hell do you think you are? What are you talking about? Your boyfriend? We've been together for years." Because at that point, that was January 2016, and we had been dating since September 2011. 5 years, almost five, 4.5, whatever. And she was like, "Well, we've been living together, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, he's with me, staying with me. He's up here with me and his son and my kids. And what are you talking about?" I felt the whole world tumble down on me. I remember I was shaking. I was like, I could not even, like, I felt like my stomach was shaking. Like everything inside felt like it was shaking. It was the most devastating heartbreak that I had ever experienced. I felt my whole body shaking, and I was like all the things, how I can't even imagine. I couldn't even fathom all of this. And he comes out. The kids were still in the movie theater. He comes out. He's like, "Babe," and I was like, "What the hell is happening right now?" Obviously, not with a smile on my face, but I was just devastated. And I was like, "What is happening?" And then I'm thinking immediately, the kids, like, I can't let them see this. I can't let this be the, first of all, his son is with us. Second of all, like, my kids, I can't let them see this. It was such a devastating time in my life. Such a devastating time in my life. I had just recovered from my hysterectomy and this was happening. And it was the, oh, gosh, I could still feel how hard it hurt, how much it hurt to feel those feelings, and like everything that you thought was true was not. We would try to work on things and then not. And then he completely moved up to Orlando in the summer. We were living together again. This is how like self-esteem works, right? So you allow this and that, and then it just continues to just build on, like, piling everything on, and you have little to no self-esteem. And I couldn't have imagined anybody else ever doing that to me, ever. And I just allowed this. Like, I allowed this behavior. I love him. I love him. I learned the most from him. I learned the most about myself from him. I know it's crazy to hear and to say. I know that he loved me so intensely, he just didn't know how. And it was crazy because to this day, and I'll kind of go into what makes me so sure about this, but to this day, I know that our love was like what would have lasted for decades and decades. I would never allow anything like that to ever happen to me again. And my self-esteem to get to that depth of low. However, he ended up moving back up and we lived together for a little bit. And then he found a job and his training was in Tampa. And it was kind of like, well, I don't know if I can't trust you to go live somewhere else. And then that job moved him not to Orlando again, it moved him to Atlanta. And I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. We would still talk every now and again. We were still friends because that's the way we've always been. We've always been friends above and beyond anything else. And I think that that's the part of me that kept me so attached was that friendship and the notion and the idea of that he would be the person that I would end up growing old with. He was that person for me. He was that blueprint of if I could see myself growing old with anybody, it would be this person. And, you know, it's funny how life has a totally different idea of what's going to happen to you. And God has totally different plans for you because I went to go see him. He was down in Tampa that time. I went to go see him and he was about to be transferred up to Orlando, and then it like got, nope, not Orlando, we're going to transfer you to Atlanta. So in July, I came back from seeing him in Tampa, and on the way back, in order to kind of stay awake, this was kind of my MO because I traveled so much on the road that I know what I needed to stay up. So I turned on a movie, not for me to start watching it, but for me to hear it as I am traveling up back to Orlando. It was like a two and a half hour drive with traffic. And so I ended up listening to the movie The Secret. And my light bulb was like, what? Is this even for real? And I remember not even going home immediately. I immediately went to Walmart. Do you remember the project trifolds for like science fair projects? So I got one of those and I got magazines and I got little like letters and decorations and I made my very first vision board. And in that, I also created a list of exactly what I wanted in a person, in the one, and exactly what I wanted in a relationship. And that list was all because of The Secret. And I listened to that and I was like, that just is bizarre. How is it that you can write something down? But that makes sense. I'm going to write a list of what I want, not the negative, but the positive of everything. So he cheated on me. I want someone that's loyal, that's honest, that's sincere, that's trustworthy. Like we dance amazing together. I want someone that can dance. He made me laugh. I want someone that's funny. He wasn't very financially okay because he did not have any type of like financial savviness at all and didn't know how to manage money. So I put on my list someone that knows how to manage money, someone that was determined, that was career oriented, that was hardworking. Like, you guys, I literally have my list. This is my list. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it's all crinkly. It's all old, but I have my list. I have 33 personality and physical traits that I wanted and 19 different, let's just call them adjectives and traits that I wanted in a relationship. So I made the list and put it on my vision board and I got to work. And it was crazy because in that moment, I didn't understand, but he was supposed to be transferred here to Orlando to work at a restaurant here in Orlando that was about to open. And within a month and a half of him getting here, he was transferred to Atlanta. And I was like, why? Why are we getting separated again? Again, life has its way of when you ask for something, it will move mountains, literally move mountains for it to be appear in your side. And I didn't understand why he was being like taken away from me again. And I was still so attached to this relationship that it wasn't serving me in any way. But I got to work on it. And I got to work on me. And when he left, I felt like I got to work on myself. Let me just back up a little bit. In that time period, I had just, in June of that year, I had just gotten laid off from my 11-year career. They went through a big merge, and I think I've talked about this in a previous podcast episode, but I was let go. And so I was not working anymore, made the decision to stay home with the kids and work on my business. And so all of these dreams and hopes and all the things opened up, and I was like, all right, I'm getting to work. And so I made this list, this beautiful list, and I started to work on me. And he was already in Atlanta, and I started to work on me. My goal in all of it was that I was going to be the person that deserved that list. I was going to work on myself. I was going to learn how to love myself. I was going to learn what I loved, what I didn't love. I was going to learn what kind of relationship I was in with myself first, in order to be able to be in a spot where I was in a good, positive relationship, whether it was going to be with him or not. So I went on a few dates, some really crazy dates, things that were definite like red flags. And I was just like, nope, this is not for me. And then I didn't date. In 2018, I took that year to work on myself. I did my Reiki certification that year. I was part of a mastermind. I became very involved with a coach, a business and abundance coach. That was the year of Maria. That was the year that I was going to pour into me no matter what. 2018 was the year of me. And so when that happened, little by little, I started to love myself again. And we kind of still kept in contact, but it was very far and few in between. And I saw him I want to say maybe earlier that year once. And I, like, again, very far and few between. We would mostly communicate through like Snapchat, and I would still see his son all the time because I love him like part of my own. There was still that contact. I still saw his mom all the time. I was super close to his whole family. So even when he wasn't around, I was around with them. And so to me, that just cultivated what kind of relationship I wanted with family extended from mine. And I just allowed all of this to just keep going. And in the end of October of 2018, I get a FaceTime call from him, and we FaceTime, and I could see that he's struggling. And he was like, this job is really like taking a toll on me. It's been really, really hard. I don't like it anymore. And I'm like, well, you always have a home. Like, you can always come back down here. And he was like, yeah, I'll definitely think about it. The kids got to FaceTime with him. And that was awesome. They got to give him all of the updates, and Daddy S won this and Daddy S won that, and oh my gosh, can you believe it, and this and that. And he was so enthralled in that conversation with them. And when I got the phone back, he was crying and he was like, God, I miss them so much. And I said, well, again, you always have a home here. And not even 2 weeks later, his mom's birthday is in November, and I got a call that I was definitely not expecting. I got a call that he had passed away. And that was probably one of the most difficult calls I have ever experienced. And if you've ever seen a movie where someone just their legs give out and they fall on the floor and cannot control anything, they're just weeping and screaming and all the things. That was me. I lost my blueprint. The blueprint of growing old with this person was gone. And I could not even fathom life without Maria and Esteban in it together. It was just the craziest thing. Craziest thing. And I had to tell my kids. Each of them had a very different reaction to the news of him passing. It was so difficult. And I don't know how I could have, I don't know how I got through it. Come to find out that he had a girlfriend up there that he was not living with, but they were pretty serious. And it just, it was what it was. She was graceful enough and amazing and allowed me to come up and be at the celebration of life up there. We cleaned up his apartment. I went with his family, and that was probably one of the most difficult weeks at that point in my life. And he passed away and left me with a hole in my heart. And someone told me to get back on there and, like, what can I do now? And come January, someone messaged me on Facebook. Like, this was so long ago. Come January of that year, 2019, I got messaged on Facebook, and it was this really handsome guy. He asked me out on a date, and he was this gorgeous older man. It was like, how like George Clooney looked better and better as he aged, older 40s, just huge. Dude was like 6'5" maybe. I'm 5'2", so a lot bigger than me. Amazing. And of my list, I could say he was probably at like 40-50%. Like, he fulfilled 40 to 50% of that list. And I was like, what? That's an improvement. Yay. We're working towards that. We went on a few dates, and he messages me after he goes on a trip with his son, and he's like, I think I found the love of my life. I'm sorry, but this is done. And I was like, whoa, okay. Nope, that just didn't work out. So that ended quickly. And then I was just like, I don't have time for this. My oldest daughter was really going rampant at that point with her mental health, and it was really taxing on me. So my friend had like made me do a profile on dating apps, and I went on a few dates, and I was just like, I can't. This is just, this is so stressful, and like, these people are so weird, and they're just not what I want in my life. And so I was like, you know what? I don't even want to anymore. I want to say like 2 months. I did not meet anybody new. I didn't want to go on the dating apps. Like I would sometimes get on when I was bored and then like not even message people back. I was just not there. And one day in April of 2019, I had a huge explosive fight with my oldest daughter. Huge. And I just felt like I had lost control of my emotions and and I needed to do something to regain them. Like I needed something to regain control of whatever I was experiencing in that moment. And so I got on this dating app that I had a profile in, and I started to swipe, 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 swipe. And I did the whole swiping thing, and I connected with a few people, and I messaged a bunch of them that I had connected with the same question. Like it was something like, if you could eat dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be? Something like that. And I got some responses and all the things, and I connected with this one guy, and he looked cute. Oddly enough, he had a little bit of a inkling of the same look as my ex-boyfriend that passed away. He was bald and had a bit of a like beard, and it's crazy, but they kind of looked alike, and he was super cute. And we ended up like chatting all week, and then decided to go on our first meet. I'll call it a meetup, because we just went to Starbucks and sat outside. We didn't even get anything at Starbucks. I had my water because I always have a bottle of water with me. And so I drank from my water and we talked. And he was like in his work uniform. This was on like a weekday. And we talked and kept talking and kept talking and kept talking. And we talked for about 4 hours that day, like just sitting there. And we walked around the lake in the park and we connected. And I was like, wow, this seems so easy. This is so easy. What? And everything that, like, it was, yeah, oh my gosh, me too. And it was just like, whoa, so easy. He, father of three, mother of three, like there was a lot of things in common. And he had gone through, or he was going through a tough divorce that was taking years. I had gone through a tough divorce that took years. Like all of these similarities in family, like all of these things that I was just like, gosh, this is so easy. And so we said goodnight because he's younger than me, but he was like, oh my gosh, it's like late and I got to go to work tomorrow. And I was like, okay, whatever. So he goes to go leave, and I was like, I gave him a kiss, and I was like, it was a good night. I needed a good night kiss, so whatever. And we just connected from that day. Like it just felt so easy, and we talked, and it was so easy, and it was so different from the conversations that I would have with anybody else. And it, little by little, as I got to know him, it was so crazy, but he has fulfilled about 99% of my list. 99%. And it blows my mind till this day that the only one thing that he did not fulfill, actually, let me just take that back a little bit. There's one thing, and then one thing he lied about, okay? I think that he lied because, and he will argue that it was a mistake, but in the dating app, I had a filter for 5'9" and above, and he came up. So he had put in his like profile that he was 5'9". He's actually 5'8", so he lied. I think he lied. He says that it was an honest mistake. Whatever. It's neither here nor there. However, let's just say that I feel like I worked on me enough to get exactly what I wanted. The other percent, the other thing that he did not fulfill was that he doesn't dance good. Which it's not a deal breaker. However, it would just have been a nice bonus. So maybe that's something that we can work on in the future. But I have now been with this amazing man for 4 years as of the taping of this podcast. And oh my gosh, it's been so incredible, so easy to have a relationship with him. I'm so incredibly grateful. His support and his love, and just the way that he is just there. And he's not like overly jealous, which I would not be able to tolerate. I'm not overly jealous because he wouldn't be able to tolerate that either. Like, we just complement each other in so many ways that it just feels so incredible and so right. And I feel like the biggest thing that I could say about love is don't settle for your 40%, because 40-50%, that dude was not somebody to settle for. And be patient and work on you and be the person that you are looking for. Be the trustworthy, loyal, sincere, funny, determined, driven person that you're looking for. Be all the things so that your energy matches whatever energy is there for you. The person that's going to be there for you will match your energy. And doesn't mean that you have to be the same. Opposites do attract and all the things. Absolutely. But there has to be a level of energy on both ends that just match and correlate. And like, you don't want to be like super high vibe and be with a super depressed person, because somebody will up to their energy level, or you're going to have to come down to their energy level, and that doesn't work. It will not work. So I guess if I could tell you my biggest advice on finding love, put it out there exactly what you want. Do not put in there what you don't want. Exactly what you want, and then go to work on you. Don't settle and be patient. That is my overall advice on finding love. And it could be that, I get things wrong, and that's okay. But let's just say I truly feel that Esteban is still looking down from heaven, sending exactly what I needed. Like, I feel like my boyfriend Danny was the gift from someone that I needed in my life, that my kids needed in their life. He's such a great bonus dad. He's such a great bonus dad. My kids love and adore him. And they've been so lucky. They've been so lucky that they have a great father. They had a great bonus dad with Esteban, and they have an amazing bonus dad with Danny. And I feel fully blessed and grateful for the gifts that I have gotten. And I can truly say that I have worked really hard on me and on what, and that's not something that stops. I'm still working really hard on me, because I need to love me first before I can truly allow or be the person that deserves that love. Not that I'm not deserving of it, but if I don't love me, how can anyone truly love me? How can I truly love anyone if I don't love me? So definitely finding exactly what you want. Make your list, whether it's with family, friendships, significant others, relationship to self, whatever. Make sure that you write down, put it out there into existence, exactly what you want. get to work on yourself, do not settle, and be patient because it'll be there. Okay. So I hope that you found some value in my crazy story. Again, against all odds. I don't know how I've survived this far, but believe me, it had a purpose. And I am so grateful to my ex-husband for all the lessons that I learned and all of the examples of the good things that I wanted from that type of relationship. I'm grateful for all of the lessons that I learned with the in-betweens, and most than anything, I'm so grateful for the lessons that I learned with Esteban, because if I wouldn't have learned those lessons, I wouldn't be prepared for Danny. So I think that is all that I have for you today. I hope you got something out of this episode. It was a tough one because it's always a hard conversation to have about something that broke my heart so heavily. And it's like we get embarrassed by these things, but I'm kind of over the embarrassment. It's still hard to talk about because I still miss him. I just still miss him. And that's okay. And I can miss him and fully be absolutely drop dead in love with Danny. That they could both coexist. And the fact that Danny is so supportive of my grief and the love that I had for this person, and still be secure in himself, knowing that I'm all in with him, it's so telling of the work that he's done on himself as well. So, yeah, I think that that is all for today. I hope you have such an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Love your life.